quality content.
Ready?
Ready.
3, 2, 1.
One of my friends and I both started in the same class, and we used to joke that we were born in our first aerial class. I'm 29. I started with aerial specifically when I was 23, so kind of late for circus people to start aerial. I consider it a form of dance, but before that I did take ballet and tap when I was a really little kid, like 5, 6, 7, 8, and then at 9 I decided that I hated the color pink and frilly things, and so I quit dance and I joined the basketball team. Then I became an adult and found aerial and circus, and then got back into dance later after that. I also started in Los Angeles, California, which is kind of I wouldn't say cutthroat, but it's cutthroat. It's like an intensely harsh kind of environment when it comes to the arts, because there is so many people doing so many awesome things there. But when you go into a dance class there, it is intimidating, and you are expected to look a certain way and to move a certain way. And with circus, it's not like that. What makes you different is actually what makes you unique and special, and that's kind of the thing that I've loved the most about circus, is that it really embraces the circus freak. I think that's rad. I started on aerial silks, which are the 2 long pieces of fabric that hang down, and as far as the movements that I first started with, they probably just looked like a lot of struggling. They're kind of specific sequences and beginner style poses and things that you learn, so I started tackling those things first. There's lots of different apparatuses. It can get a little confusing. So silks are kind of what people call the 2 pieces of fabric. They're just rigged. It's one long piece of fabric that's rigged at the middle point at the top, and you use the 2 tails to climb. There's no loop at the bottom. Then there are straps also, which is another love of mine, and those are pretty bare. They are just like, almost look like karate belts with loops at the bottom, and you put your wrists through them. And it is done mostly, you can put your feet in, but it's mostly arms, one-arm stuff. And that apparatus can look very different depending on how you use it. And then there's also rope, which is another huge love of mine, which is just a single rope hanging down from one point. It's got a little spinny thing at the top, and it's covered in like a canvas covering that's a little bit rough to the touch. But yeah, there's all sorts of different things, and then people are inventing apparatuses. There's cubes, there's spirals. Anything that you can hang off of these days is a circus apparatus. I used to work in the film industry as a set dresser, and I was able to leave that, and I started managing a yoga and aerial studio and teaching there, and then switched entirely to teaching. So it's changed everything.
So teaching aerial, what do you think is the most important thing for students to keep in mind?
Well, from a teacher's perspective, it's safety. It's always the number one thing, because you definitely can get hurt in this sport, and there's lots of different ways in which you can get hurt, so safety is definitely the number one. But I think in a performance setting, I think the number one thing that I want my students to walk away from is knowing that when you perform in front of people, it's not common, it's very rare that people in an audience will be looking at you with the same kind of scrutiny that you look at yourself. I think probably never will that happen, because we're always the harshest on ourselves, right? So that level of harshness is not in the audience. It's only in your own head. So I really hope that my students kind of get up and are able to kind of break through that barrier and know that they can get up and perform, and the people who are watching them are grateful and think that what they're doing is amazing. Yeah. I still go through everything that I feel like a struggling artist goes through, and when making work, and kind of the self-doubt and thinking you're not good enough, and then not doing something because you think that you're not good enough. So I think actually the best advice that I've ever been given is just to kind of do it anyways. Is to know that, yeah, it's scary, and it's scary because it's worth something to you, it means something, and to remember that. But then to also remember that the comparison is also kind of where we all start to crumble the second you start to compare your work and your worth to somebody else and their work. And that gets problematic because we are all different. We all offer different gifts, and those things are worth our time and our energy, even if they are different from other people's. So I would say to really spend time cultivating your own voice and really embracing that it's different, and that's okay, and that's awesome actually, and then that it's probably not ever going to get less scary, and that's okay too. The fear is good.